Okay, I'm Kerry Stevenson doing my coaching and mentoring interview with a coworker to discuss an issue that they have in their setting, and my MISIS number is M00696010. So tell me about your situation at the moment. How are you feeling at work? Are there any things that you've been thinking about lately?
Okay, thanks. I have got a small issue that I've been grappling with, and that is I invited a colleague to come into my classroom and talk to my students about a particular topic, and unfortunately some of the information that she gave to the students was factually incorrect. I didn't obviously want to correct her during the class time, but now the students are left with the impression that what she said was correct. So I'm just wondering how I can go about this with fixing the situation without, taking it to a higher authority. Should I talk to her about it? Should I tell the students what the correct information is? I'm just in a bit of a dilemma.
So, other than this issue that you have going on, would you say that you are quite satisfied in your role and you feel like you are where you need to be?
Yes, everything else seems to be going smoothly.
Okay. And did you know that she was going to tell them the wrong information beforehand? Did she ask to discuss anything with you? Was she...
No, I had asked her to give me the slides of the presentation she was going to do, and she didn't give them to me beforehand. But anyway, what she said was not part of the slides. She kind of went off script and used an example to explain a concept, and her example was completely wrong. It doesn't explain that concept accurately, and it's a very important concept for the students to learn.
So even if you did have the slides beforehand, you wouldn't have been able to put a stop to it. So it was something that was out of your control at the time. Okay. And did you take any actions at the time? Did you speak to her about it?
No, I couldn't speak to her because she was going off to another appointment and I had another class straight away. So that was about a week ago. So some time has passed since then.
Okay. And have you spoken to anybody else about it? Have you?
I've spoken to one other co-worker, one other colleague who's kind of at the same level as I am. And
is the one that, sorry to interrupt, is the one that gave this false information of a actual same level, or?
No, I'm on the teaching side and they're on the admin side.
Oh, okay, I see. So you've spoken to one other colleague?
I spoke to a teaching colleague,
yes. A teaching colleague. And what were their views? Did they align with yours? Or?
Yes, they were also quite shocked to hear that the person had misunderstood this concept to such an extent, but they didn't really have any solution for me.
Oh, okay, that's fair. And so you said that this was a week ago, so you've had some time to reflect and think about, do you have any resources that could help you at the moment that you've been thinking of?
When you say resources, what do you mean?
So in terms of, do you have somebody that you could go to that could solve this problem for you, or do you feel that this situation would rather be a face-to-face, one-on-one with this admin staff?
Well, yes and no. I don't, it's not that important because I doubt that she's going to use that exact example that she used in my class. I doubt that she'll use it again. I was thinking that maybe if I see her in an informal context, I might just talk to her and say, I just wanted to check with you that example you used. How can you just explain to me how it is relevant to the concept that was being discussed? I thought I would maybe ask her again to explain it to me in case I misunderstood, or maybe in telling it there would be an opportunity for me to explain where she had misunderstood that concept.
Okay, that's fair. And what's your goal to get out of this situation? Is it more to write the information, or?
I think my biggest concern at this stage is my students are left with the wrong impression and the wrong information, and I'd like to correct that without, being disloyal to my colleague.
I see. So you don't want to paint her in a bad light with your students, but you don't want them to be left with the wrong information.
Exactly.
So your goal at the moment, as you say, is not so much to get in contact with the colleague, but rather to just write the information with your students.
Yes.
Have you seen these students since?
No, but I will be seeing them this coming week.
Okay, so you haven't had a chance yet.
Yeah.
And have you thought of any methods or approaches to take in order to write this?
To get the right information across, I thought of maybe just going back to that concept and having a class discussion on it and see what they came up with. Because I know if I use the exact same example, they will know exactly that what I'm talking about, and that they'll realize that I'm correcting my colleague. So I thought of trying to introduce it in a sort of wider way and just have a general discussion and then just kind of get their ideas and steer them towards the correct understanding of the concept.
That sounds like good options. And what do you think would happen once you approach these students? Can you think of any downsides or outcomes that you may not have anticipated? Do you think they might judge you at all for bringing in this?
I think that they might not even care about that concept, that they might already understand it in a different sense than how it was explained to them last week, and they might not even remember the exact example. So I just wonder if it's even worth bringing it up again.
So at the moment, your options are to just leave it alone or talk about it in class. And the talking about it in class, your options within that regard were to bring it up again and correct the information, or use the same example but correct the example. Or what else were you thinking in that situation?
I think those are all options that sound very useful.
And what do you think you will do? So now that we've discussed all these options, you think that which one is seeming the best?
To be honest, I think I might have built it up into being a bigger issue than it actually is in my, in my own mind in thinking about it. It's not going to cause the students to fail a test. It's not, in that sense, going to impact on them. They still have a lot of time as they go through their studies to learn about this concept from different angles. So, having spoken about it, I think I might have just kind of overreacted to the situation. I might just leave it as is unless somebody brings it up in class, and then I will go on to explain and have a discussion about the concept.
So after thinking about this for a week, and you say you chatted to another coworker before talking to me,
Yes.
Is there anything that you would have done differently from before this class took place when they were given the wrong information? And you say that the staff didn't give you any heads up about what they were going to talk about, what they were going to say. So from that point, would there be anything that you would have done differently?
I have thought about that, and I thought perhaps what I should have done is at the time I should have asked for more clarity, and then given her the opportunity to discuss that concept further, and we could have maybe clarified any misunderstandings that had arisen. But in hindsight, I also think that might have put her on a spot to, make it obvious that she didn't have the knowledge that she should have about that particular example she was using. So I think, to not have done anything at the time was probably the correct thing to do. If it had been like an important concept that was going to impact on the students and their outcomes, then I think I would have had a responsibility to try and correct things and fix them and take it further. But as I say, it's more of a sort of general philosophical concept. It's not like factual, cut and dried information.
So, in terms of your feelings and things like that, how do you think you feel about it now after chatting to, you say, your other co-worker and myself? How did you feel about the situation now, and how did you feel about it immediately after it happened?
Immediately after it
Did you
happened,
say it changed?
I was first quite shocked, and then I was quite upset because I don't like, to leave people with the wrong information. And how do I feel about it now? As I say, after having this conversation, I think that I perhaps made it out to be more problematic than it actually was. So, yeah, I feel like I've spoken through it, and now I'm happy to just continue. I think what I will do in future is, just insist on seeing the slides and maybe having a chat with the person beforehand, just to check that our understandings are the same.
Oh, that's great. Do you feel like this this session between us, do you think it helped you gain more clarity, or you already had some clarity beforehand?
No, I think it's definitely helped me to see it in perspective, especially, acknowledging the feelings that I had at the time, because when I was thinking about it, I wasn't acknowledging that, I was quite upset, because one of my values is also to, always make sure that you're doing your best and the students have the right information. So I felt personally responsible. But now, stepping back a little bit, there's no real need to get upset. And it wasn't really my issue, it was really theirs. And it's not as big of a deal as I thought it was.
Well, I must say, having seen your teaching myself, I do think that you are a great teacher, and I think you getting upset straight after the situation happened was actually a great judge of your character, that you are worried about your students getting the wrong information. And because you say that you've thought about this for the past week, it means that you always have your students' interests at heart, and you've been battling with yourself on how to make it right. So even if you don't do anything at this point, you've thought about it, you've made pros and cons about the options that you have, and that's the great outcome, I think.
Well, thank you. Thanks for the advice and for listening to the problem, and really appreciate it.
Always happy to listen.
Thanks, Steve.
Thanks so much.